So blueprints can do a lot of different things, but recently I have been thinking about what are the things that are blueprints missing, and I compiled a small list of things that I think could make blueprints way more powerful, and basically I wanted to go over it in a video. The first thing that we're going to talk about are asserts, and essentially it would be really nice if you had more native asserts that come with Unreal instead of having to make your own. So let me just go over what are even asserts. So if I open up some blueprints, I'm going to type assert here. And these are basically my asserts that I had to make, but assert is essentially you giving it a value, or could even be a type, but you give it a value and you compare it to some other value, and then you get an error if they're not the same, or the comparison basically fails. And that's really nice when you need to reinforce something on your code or to kind of test quickly a thing. Technically could like create like a branch and do some testing and then have like a print string or something, but assert puts it neatly in one package where you can quickly put it wherever you want. And also because of these wildcards, you can put any type in here that you want. So for example, if we have a boolean, I could just connect it, and you're going to see how the next variable here automatically collapses to the type that we input here, and now we can compare it with something else. That's not all types of asserts that you can make. One thing that I like to use in my project is net asserts. When you have, let's say, events, functions that are running, some of them are running on the server, on the client, or both on the server and the client, or maybe on multiple clients, or on the owning client. Sometimes it's nice to explicitly say, hey, this is supposed to run here. When you're working with multiple people can get a better idea of what is meant for this function or event to do. And also, if you're working alone and some time has passed, you're probably going to forget why and how the function or an event works, and you're gonna basically forget stuff. How this basically works is you have a type of check to make. So is this basically macro? Is this running on the server? Is it clients only, server and only client? It can be proxy, simulated autonomous proxy. Does the object has authority that's running this assert? And if any of those fail, you can have your own like error handling. For me, basically print string, then we have stack trace, and then customized thing in here. So pretty nice. It for some time, and it works well. And for the asserts, how they are basically working is you have your two wildcards, and you, for some reason, you have to make them into an array, and then you try to find them in that array. And then if that fails, you know that basically it's not the same type. So that's kind of a way that I found it to work here. And of course, the error handling, I usually like to have same type of error handling everywhere, so I know exactly how it works. And also in some of my projects, I also have assert nodes. So that type of assert basically just has an extra thing in here. It's going to have string, and it's going to be basically like if you want a custom message with your assert, because this stack trace can give you like an idea of where this assert is and when it failed, but you can do some additional stuff if you need. So then if I save this, you can see I can also add a note in here. Also, you might notice that this doesn't look the same as this, so you can compact your nodes if you never worked with macros. So for this assert, if I give it a compact node title, if I delete this, save, you can see now it looks more normal, but it's bigger and it's kind of unnecessary. Especially if I'm working alone, I already kind of know what's happening. I don't need the extra thing at the top and stuff like that, and the names of the variables. I already kind of know what's happening. Yeah, so this supported natively, so we don't have to create custom stuff or transfer plugins from one project to the other. Would be kind of nice. Next thing are execution costs of nodes. I think this would help a lot of people where if they had a tool to easily figure out the sequence of nodes or a cost of a single node just to get a general idea of how long it takes it to run, would be really nice in Unreal. So for example, for me right now, how I have to do it is something like this. We get accurate real time, we do something in between, and then we print. Now it works okay, but you have to do kind of few things. Also, to streamline this, you can create a macro that's a little bit more convenient than doing this, and you don't have to store a variable locally. But yeah, you have to do something like this, which is basically we get accurate real time, we save the start location, some time passes, some nodes execute, then we get the time again, and we just minus it from the start one and then print. But here you can have some issues where there is a little bit of time needed to set this start variable, and then also a little bit of time to print. If you want to figure something out that has a really small cost, like in microseconds, you're probably gonna get a lot of noise. If it's double-digit microseconds, you're probably gonna get decent amounts of noise. But in general, it's decently accurate. So let's test this. I'm gonna press play and press 1, and you can see we needed 0.1 second, which is 100 milliseconds to trigger and run this. Now it's pretty inefficient, and I was getting different numbers actually. Before I was getting 0.02 microseconds or milliseconds, so about 20 milliseconds, but now I'm getting 100, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening. We can test this, and also Unreal optimizes, basically nativizes loops, so they get way more performant when you package your project. But yeah, you can basically test stuff out. So if I decrease this, compile, play, and press 1 here, you can see now it's 0.01, so basically 1/10 of what we had in here. But yeah, so one thing that Epic team could do in here is first maybe have a simple button or something in here for nodes. Maybe you can right click and then click on something where you can basically enable to give you a little number that just says how long this function, event, whatever is going to take to run. And it can be based on your CPU. I think that would be fine because different CPUs get different clock speeds, so this might not be the same on all CPUs or the cost. So stuff like that would be nice. Also, I'm not sure how they could do multiple stuff. So maybe you do for loop, you set something, you do something on completed, and then after you want to check the whole thing, how costly it was. There is probably some clever thing that they could do where they set this node to be start, and then some other node can be the end calculation, and then it can cleverly figure out that if it hits start and then hits end somewhere, then that means that stops it and calculates the time needed to complete, basically. Third thing is easy way to expose functions or variables from C++ to blueprints. Right now, how you have to do this is, if I want to, for example, expose something from the actor, because for some reason developers did not expose all of the functions and variables from the actor, I'm guessing for like security purposes, but it's kind of weird. Even if it's risky, you could probably find a better solution to that where you give a little warning or something when it's used in blueprints that it might be risky to use or something. But yeah, not a lot of the stuff in here are exposed, and because of that, it happens decent amount of times where I need something, I literally cannot get it in blueprints, and then I have to convert the project to C++, I have to start exposing stuff, and then I have additional local to the project C++ stuff that I have to deal with. And I'm sure with 1,000 senior engineers at Epic, somebody can figure it out where I can, I don't even know, select this parent class, which is actor, and it's C++ class. I click some button somewhere, shows me the list of all of the functions and variables, and I can just click what I want to do and how I want to expose them in blueprints. I'm not exactly sure how that would work with C++ compilation things, but yeah, hopefully somebody could figure that out. It would be really convenient, and I think that would make blueprints really, really powerful, because now one of the biggest things with blueprints is limitations to what they can do, because a lot of proprietary stuff that you get with Unreal, the classes, they do not have everything exposed. I think they expose probably like 60 to 70%, but then when you need the niche stuff, you just cannot get it. The fourth thing is blueprint graph versioning. So right now, what you can do is connect to your revision control, and then you're gonna get a little thing in here to diff against your source control version, so you can see the changes you locally made versus what is pushed on, I don't know, Git, Perforce, whatever it is. And it's nice and convenient, and I think if they expanded it to blueprints locally, so you don't even have to go through source control, it would be way nicer. So imagine if you could, for example, I don't know, let's say I have another graph and it's inputs, and in here I have a bunch of nodes, stuff is happening, and maybe I need to do some heavy modifications, but I would like to save a previous version how it was. So maybe if I forgot to change something, or I want to see how something was done before, I can just go back. It would be nice if maybe I can right click in here and choose versions or create a new version and work on that. I think that would be really, really nice and convenient, and I don't see any reason, any like technical reason why that couldn't work in blueprints, especially how they are saved. It shouldn't be too big of a deal to create something like that. So it could be for like event graphs, it could also be for the whole blueprints. If you can just click some button, there is like a version type, and you can just select one of the few. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is something that I needed rarely, but still it would be nice to have, and that is if we go to event tick and we go to class defaults, we have this tick group, and you can basically choose which one you want. So normal one is pre-physics, and what this basically means is when you have your frame, there is stuff happening. So maybe there is like physics happening between this and this frame, and it's gonna take longer or shorter depending on what you need for physics to do. There is some threads working simultaneously. Maybe there's like a rendering thread that works like this, and there is like some ticks for actors. And now actor has to basically choose when to tick it. We could tick just at the beginning of our frame, but then we don't get any information related to our physics, because physics is calculated here. So for example, if I was getting the actor's transform or location, I'm actually going to be getting it from a previous frame if I'm getting it here. because I'm using pre-physics. If I select tick group to be during physics, then I'm going to be doing it somewhere in here, so while the physics is happening. And this can be unsafe, because what can happen is, let's say my characters or this specific actor's physics is happening in here, but my during physics tick happens here. Now, I'm not going to get the update, but it can also happen here. So it might happen randomly during the physics, and I don't have control over that. So if I'm like modifying or getting transforms on event tick, I'm going to get weird results if I'm doing something like this. And then you have post physics. So I think this is right after the physics happen. And then there is like post update perks. I'm guessing that's after rendering and everything. You just one of the last things to tick, basically. So that's kind of the 4 options we have. Now, what would be nice is that instead of us having to commit on our actor to one of these 4 and then just that one tick happens, we could select multiple. So maybe I have like event tick pre-physics, event tick during physics, and I can have 2 of these events for each. Now I'm guessing that's gonna bring up a little bit of overhead, because tick does have some overhead, and also if now I have 2 ticks on this actor, it's gonna do tick 2 times, so that means a bit less performance. Of course, the tick is pretty small, and this would be like exceptional case. So this would be like this 1 or 2 actors in the whole game just need special thing to do pre-physics and post-physics every tick, and now for them I have this option. So right now I would have to maybe handle it in some other component or something, I'm not even sure. You also have something like set tick group, but as far as I understand this, you're not able to, like, if I'm taking pre-physics, I don't think I can do post-physics and then do double tick. I think this basically setting the tick to how do you want to tick next frame, so it's never gonna give you like 2 ticks at the same frame. So yeah, just like a small thing, and you probably haven't even hit this thing yet, but there is reasons why you want to do something after physics is calculated or before, and sometimes in exceptional cases you just need both. It would be kind of nice to have that option. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Hopefully all of this made sense, and yeah, you can also let me know what you think would be a good addition to blueprints.